evening and welcome to Mzansi FPL. It is episode number 2. As usual, we have next to me Viren, and we have, as we explained to you last week, Keyuran, #1 in South Africa.
Welcome, Keyuran.
Well done to you, firstly. So we're going to get into a little bit of your FPL stuff. We've also got transfer talks to bring about, and we're going to go in with a little bit of the cup matches that just finished. But Viren, I'm going to welcome.
Thank you, Shabazz. Yeah, and welcome to the second episode of the Mzansi Talk Show. Joining Keyuran today, we've got Mr. Legendary Banter Group, Tottenham Hotspur stalwart. So we're going to chat to him as well. The Mzansi League growing from strength to strength. As you mentioned last week, there's various tiers that we're actually looking at. So there's the Mzansi Global League, there's Elite 64, the High Roller, and there's also something called Last Man Standing. So we got to acknowledge Clyde Chetty. Clyde, thank you so much for running that. We know it's a lot of work running and controlling those spreadsheets, and we really enjoy that format of the game. So Mzansi also venturing into the F1 space. So Shiven, Helgard, thank you guys for controlling that aspect, and that's a lot of fun as well. I mean, the F1 season, it's a three-way battle between PS3, Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen. So all you F1 guys out there, or fanatics, please join our F1 kind of initiatives as well. And but today we're here actually to speak to Keyuran, 13th in the world. That's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
And first in South Africa, first in KZN, and I believe that Desi, he's got quite a healthy a pot of points as well, 2, 4, 7, 8. So probably upper echelons in terms of Tottenham Hotspur.
Runs in the family.
It runs in the family. So I think there's some genes there. So I think Keyuran, let's hear from you first.
Okay.
What was your general kind of experience with this campaign?
Yeah, firstly, thanks to everyone organizing this, to the both of you. It's a pleasure to be here, and to be honest, quite a few of my closest mates don't actually play FPL and don't know about it. So when I have opportunities like this, I take it with both hands. So thank you for inviting me. In terms of how the season went, it's been an unbelievable one, really. I mean, I almost waited every other weekend for my rank to drop, and it mostly didn't. But it's been a wild ride, and I'm really grateful for everything that happened and the way it happened, and maybe the finish wasn't as great, but we'll touch on that later.
Okay, so you said most of your friends and stuff don't play FPL.
Yeah.
What got you started into playing?
I don't know. I remember, I think I was second or third year campus, and someone mentioned to me, I think I have to mention him. It was Elijah, a good friend of mine, FPL Elijah. You might know of him, quite a good FPL player as well. We were speaking about it, and there were other guys that were playing, and I didn't initially see the point of playing fantasy football. It was, you watch the games on TV, you watch actual football, and then that's it. But then I said I'll give it a try, and I started playing, I think 8 years ago now. So that's how I started, and now I'm here.
Now, I'm going to come over to your dad now. He was second year campus, and he was concentrating on FPL, not his studies. What was your say in this whole thing? I didn't know what was
I didn't know about that until later on when he introduced me to FPL. And I think the first year I played, I beat him.
I actually forced my dad to play FPL because there was no one playing with me. So.
Now we know where the juice comes from.
Right. Now you know it.
So, like you said, now you've been playing for over 8 years.
Yeah.
When you started playing, was it just a part-time hobby? Were you looking at going serious instantly, or was it just like, I'll put it and see what happens?
Yeah, I think it was just to get involved and just have a bit of a source of banter with everyone at campus and some other friends and things. So it wasn't something that I was serious about until maybe, I'd say 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago maybe. Yeah, but I didn't start playing off as seriously as I have done in the past few years.
Mr. Vidan, I'm coming to you.
Yeah, sure.
Because he's a bit quiet here.
Yeah.
Now, you've also been playing FPL for a while.
Yeah.
How serious are you in the game?
Okay. As you guys know, I'm not a serious FPL player. I love the banter. I love the chat.
If anyone's looking for a banter club, come and visit Vidan.
Correct. So, Keyuran, looking at the past season, I think the two proudest moments for me personally was the 2 game weeks at Ep2.
I didn't know.
I think it was the last game week.
Right.
And
I think 5 million other people also put in the last game week.
And somewhere along the line as well.
Yeah.
So that was proud moments for me. And as I mentioned, Shabazz, I'm not a serious player. So I've been in it for 3 seasons now.
Okay.
And my rank has been improving. My points have been progressively increasing by 5 every season. Last season I got 2,105. So it's about 4 more in the world. That's fine for me, but I don't have the time, effort, or the patience to look at long-term projections. So Keyuran, you need to tell us, what's your strategy? Have you got a spreadsheet, algorithms that you look at? How do you go about planning your short-term, medium-term, and long-term FPL strategy for the season?
Okay, so look, I've never made, and I don't have a spreadsheet at all, as much as I've been fluked about it. So that's one thing I don't have. But I think initially it's about sussing out the season, just trying to understand how teams are operating. I'll start from the beginning and I don't want to give away all my secrets, but I have put a lot of time into it. I have done a lot of research, and I have to give a shout out to my wife because she said that she deserves most of the credit for me not speaking to her when I'm doing my research. So
did she force you to say that?
No. I'm saying it on my own free will. But
by the way, Keyuran's wife, Dr. Cameron Govender, is quite a good FPL player herself. Can you just give us some insights into the way she's performed over the years and what influence has she had?
She started playing, I think, 3 years ago. She probably didn't know what FPL is. She probably didn't know what the English Premier League was before she met me. So I kind of forced her as well, just as I did with the old man. And she started playing. Initially, she read a few articles, and she used to watch some Instagram pages and all of those things, videos and whatnot. And she did quite well. I think she finished 25K in the world. The first time she started playing. Second season was, I think, top 3K in the world. And then this past season, I think just outside the top 20K. So it transitioned from reading articles and taking in information to picking players based on how they look and what their names are. And it worked.
Yeah.
So it's been a lucky one for her, but I think.
But wait, coming back to you.
Yeah.
Coming back to you now. Did you follow any part of her strategy?
To be very honest, at the beginning of the season, she was doing really well. I think even last season, she had a brilliant season, and she actually beat me. I think the season before, she beat me by 20,000, 40,000 odd places. Ooh. And I said to myself this season, if I ask her what she's doing, there might be something in there. Long story short, she triple captained Erling Haaland in game week 9 this past season. And I asked her, are you sure? And she said, yeah. I said, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. And in hindsight, it wasn't the best decision, but there were other influences that made me choose that. But yeah, so I do follow some of the things she says, but not everything.
So, all right, let's come to you quickly. You scored 2,478 this season, which is kind of a good
proving.
Yeah. So, do you get any advice from Keyuran, or do you kind of operate independently as two competitors?
Yeah, no. Sometimes we bounce it off. What should I do? Because I think he's more into it. For me, it's just fun.
Just a hobby.
Yeah, just to be part of the clique. And sometimes I'll say yeah, but then the back of my head, no. I'll ask him. He'll give me advice, but I'll say no. I want to go with my player. So yeah, especially when it's Spurs players.
All right. So I've got to ask you guys this question. I can see you got a Tottenham shirt on. Right. I know you hardcore Tottenham Hotspur supporter. Keyuran, I believe you've got an allegiance to Liverpool.
Yeah, of course. I
So,
mean, we're the best team in the league.
well,
How did that come about? That's what we want to know. And what was the feeling like in the household?
Interesting. Do you wanna answer that? Because you tried to make me support Spurs and it didn't work.
He actually showed us, by the way. He showed
Yeah.
us pictures of Keyuran wearing
Yeah.
his Spurs uniform.
Yeah.
But that was when he was very little and he didn't have a say.
Yeah, I've still got the jersey to remind him.
Oh.
Yeah, no, like you say, you grow up, you want your kids to support the same team as you. But I think the Champions League final, I think we were both sitting in the lounge. Yeah, and I think actually he was sitting in the dining room doing some homework and watching. And from there, he just jumped onto Liverpool. And I said, no, you can't. But when they're youngsters, when they go to campus and especially with their friends, it's now, those days were either Liverpool or United.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tried to change him, but I failed.
but Keyuran, I do notice that your dad and you are very close.
Yeah.
How did you manage the transition from supporting a team
Yeah.
that your dad, a kind of a direct rival of what your dad supported?
To be honest, we have, well, I can't say fond for my dad because for a long time Liverpool won most of the games that I mean I was telling my wife before I came on that I think it was about 12 years ago at White Hart Lane where we beat them 5-0. I think we watched that game together. It must have been a horror show for him. I never asked him how it was because I could see and I could feel the tension. But yeah, it was always fun. A lot of banter, a lot of screaming, a lot of shouting, but always in good spirit. So
He mocked me.
I'm in good spirits.
Coming out. Coming out.
Keyuran, I did watch a video of the Champions League final where the Spurs supporters club watched it.
Yeah.
I saw you seated close to your dad. I believe it was your birthday on the day as well. And after the final whistle was blown, I saw the joy in your face. I observed the video and the warm embrace between your dad and yourself. Can you just walk us through the last few moments?
Yeah, I think since 2008 was the last time Spurs won a cup final. Sorry to say it, I know it's a while ago, but
No. Now 2025.
Before this season.
Prior to this.
Back then, I have to be honest, I didn't even realize that Spurs brought so much joy to my dad, and I would hoped. I think it was 2011, 2012 when Spurs and Chelsea were going toe to toe for the title. Maybe it was before that. There was one season, not Spurs and Chelsea, Spurs and Leicester. Spurs and Leicester.
2016.
That's the one. So I would have liked for Spurs to win the title because of my dad, and it didn't work out. But I think this season was the one. So I just wanted Spurs to win so that we'll make him happy, to be honest.
It was a good birthday present for yourself.
It was a good birthday present from me to my dad.
On your birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to look at this, right? So generally, as the head of the household, you'd like your family to follow in your footsteps of which team you support.
Yeah.
His family supports Spurs. Besides you, I'm not sure if your wife supports Spurs with you.
No.
But generally, you'd like your wife and your kids to support Spurs.
Yeah.
Does your wife also support Liverpool?
I think by default.
But
I don't know if she really understands too much. But no, I'm just kidding. I have to give her some credit. She actually knows maybe even more Premier League players than a lot of us around. She actually also started watching the IPL, so she knows a couple of cricket players as well. But yeah, so she has an idea, so I have to give her some credit.
We're going to touch a little bit on the IPL because the final just took place.
I just want to talk about it.
Coming back to your FPL, right? Back to your FPL. On an average, you've been looking at your stats. I've got your stats in front of me. You've been looking at your stats as the weeks progressed, and you saw your ranks was raising higher and higher. How long has it taken you to set a starting 11 for a week? Is it like me, where I just look at who's performing, just put them into the team, or is it like I know he always performs against this club, so I'm gonna bring him in. Take 2 days, bring another player.
Yeah.
So how long on average does it take you to set a starting 11 for a game week?
Oh, well, there's 7 days between game weeks, so about 7 days. Look, to be quite honest, some game weeks are different than others, and a lot of us will know that. There's obvious moves, there's not so obvious moves. But I did my research from like Monday. From Mondays to Fridays, I would do my research. And then I would wait until the last second for almost every game week before I made a decision. So that's more or less what it was.
So that, just one last, that last hour before gaming, that's when you're making your transfers in and
Yeah.
out.
Not even the last hour, sometimes the last 5 minutes.
Yo.
I'll tell you a story on that point. We were actually in Zanzibar on holiday
Mhm.
before double game week 33 kicked off. And it was our last day there. And I was at one of the hotels and I had to make sure I had Wi-Fi. And I was about to bring Kevin De Bruyne in. It was either Kevin De Bruyne in for -4 or keep Phil Foden. And it was like seconds before the deadline. I brought De Bruyne in for -4. And it was that's how tight it gets with deadlines. So yeah.
I just need to ask, do you follow any content creators to guide you in your terms of your decision making process?
Yeah, of course. I think that also sort of leads on to the first question about the strategy and how I got to where I am now. There are a lot of trusted sources that I follow on Twitter. I only use Twitter for FPL, Twitter or X. But yeah, I do follow a couple. To name a few, I do follow the FPL Wire podcast. That consists of three very different but respectable managers who I can see a little bit of myself in amongst the three of them. There's a couple. FPL Harry, I think he's quite a phenomenal manager, and his thinking and his thought process is something I can relate to. And yeah, I think last two that I want to mention is Big Man Bakar. I always read his threads, and that was from 2019, 2020. I do value his opinion as well. And I think a lot of people that watched the Fantasy Premier League show on Supersport 3 back then would know who Mark Southerns is. So he's like the godfather of FPL. And yeah, I think those are the few people that I follow. So a lot of them, their opinions and what they think shape my decisions.
But I think coming back to you, I think a lot of people will now start looking up to you because you actually finished 13th in the world.
Yeah.
Coming from South Africa, finishing 13th in the world, I think a lot of people will start looking up to you. So we always want to know what's the thought process. And coming back to your picking of your 11 days, you said it takes you 7 days. Who was your most frequently used captain?
Yeah.
And who was your most frequently used player in the season?
Okay, so in terms of captaincy, there's none other than Mo Salah. Okay. So I think I'm pretty sure I captained Mo Salah more than others. Funny story on that one. A few years ago, a group of my close mates that play football, watch football, and play Fantasy Premier League said, don't own Mo Salah or don't captain Mo Salah at your own peril. So that one stuck with me for a long time. And it was true. It proved true for the longest time. But yeah, he let me down the last 3 game weeks, but we won't talk about that. Yeah, so I think that's one. And then in terms of frequently used player, I would say Mo Salah because he was always in the team. But in terms of a player that I had in my team the entire season, and you wouldn't think you think it's Mo Salah, but it actually wasn't. I had Morgan Rogers in my team from game week 1. And a little bit of a backstory on that one is I hadn't planned to get Morgan Rogers in from game week 1. Oscar Bob got injured before the season started, and he was in my team. From the time FPL launched, he was in my team. And then he got injured. And my plan was to get rid of Oscar Bob after the first 2 game weeks and then bring Rogers in. But because Oscar Bob got injured, I had Rogers in from the start. So I got lucky a few times. So yeah.
He gave you some points there.
He did give me a lot of points, even off the bench.
Talking about Morgan Rogers, he's had a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
I mean, FPL by 5.5 goal, I think it was. He played very well for Villa. One of the best midfielders. Got himself into England reckoning. I think he got himself into the squads as well. But looking at your FPL, I've been tracking it as well to learn a bit from you. I did notice that when you had him on the bench, he scored very well. But when you decided to play him in your team, he blanked. So somehow the synchronization between yourself and Morgan Rogers was not there.
2 points on that one. I think there was one game week. I remember the game week so clearly because I always followed it. But I left him on my bench and he scored, I think, 2 goals against Man City. And I mean, it's Man City. You don't think that they're gonna concede that many. But as much as I have benched him a couple of times and he's done well, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But as much as I benched him a couple of times, he's come on because a certain player too hasn't played, and we call it what, bench jam, right?
Yeah.
So I got lucky because he came off the bench for me.
Right. By the way, in Mzansi Global Players, Keyuran has been promoted. He's played his first season in Mzansi Global, so he gets promoted to the Elite 64 League. So he's probably the only league that you won't be playing against him in. So Keyuran, there's something for the other people to compete to. So thank you for that, for leaving something for us, to aspire to.
I mean, if he's in all the leagues, what do we get to face up against?
So in Mzansi Global, guys, please register. Get yourself on there. Keyuran's not on there next season, so we've got a chance.
Okay.
And now you've been sitting on the sidelines of this whole thing. We need to bring you in the pitch a little bit. So we know the Europa League final. We've already spoken about it. What was your thought going this? We've already got his thought on it.
Yeah.
I want to know a different Spurs supporter because he's always got an opinion. We want to get a different opinion. What was your thought going to the final against United?
Yeah, initially, when it was the semi-final, I kept on saying to some of the guys when we were watching at Riverside, I'd rather face Atletico than United because we keep on saying, yeah, we beat them 3 times, but in the back of my head, I had that fear, like, hey, I'm a bit uncomfortable. And going into the final, I was very nervous that day. You couldn't concentrate, and it was like, hey, come on, the time just can't go fast enough. And we sat, and I'm just crossing my fingers. And I guess we were lucky. But for me, at the end of the day, irrespective, I just said I want to win, no matter who scores, whether it's an own goal. All I wanted was a win to say we've lifted the trophy.
Win is a win at the end
Yeah,
of the
because
day.
if you look back 5 years and you say, hey, Tottenham won the Europa League, nobody's going to say, hey, how did they play? It's just a trophy. So I was ecstatic. I think it made my day. I think, like Keyuran said, being his birthday, special day, it's...
You wasn't worried about my birthday.
It was
the final.
I had to cut his birthday short.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I think we had lots of fans watching it. It made it more exciting. So that was good. And I think, of course, the banter with the at Radio Lotus. So, yeah, it was good.
Now, we're going to get into the next part of it. You won the Europa Cup final. Now you're facing a PSG side that beat Inter Milan in the final of the UEFA Champions League 5-0. But I'm not going to get your opinion just yet. I'm going to get to Keyuran first. What's the scoreline going to be?
Well, I mean, if it's the same teams, transfer market is now open.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. Spurs might go and get Gareth Bale again or something. I think it's going to be a very tough game for Spurs. But I think
Scoreline prediction.
I think maybe 3-0.
You didn't want to say, but I had to get out of it.
3-0 for Spurs.
3-0 for Spurs.
He said 3-0. He didn't say for who.
Okay, we knew it's
3-0 to PSG against Spurs.
3-0 for PSG. Now we come to you. What is your prediction?
Initially when I watched the Champions League and I said, okay, 1-0, 2-0, and I said, no, it's okay, let me go back to bed. And when I got up in the morning, I saw 5-0. I said, what the hell? And I'm a bit wary about PSG. But, I think with Spurs, the thing is, you don't know which team is going to turn up on that day. We can turn it on, or we can just suddenly sit back and get hammered. But I think with getting in some new players and hopefully PSG does well in the World Cup. So by the time they get to their final, their players get their mandatory 3 weeks off. So when they come back, they
Look, we're
that
gonna get into transfers in just a bit, but I want your scoreline prediction for that.
Nah, I don't know.
Honest prediction. Leave loyalties out of it. Honest prediction in this one.
Like I say initially, I'm wary being PSG because the way they play.
Right.
But it's hard for me to give it because I don't know what players we're going to get in, and but I want us to win, of course.
Okay.
And who the manager's going to be.
That's another
point as
thing,
well.
yeah.
That's going to be another point of view. But Virat, what is your prediction?
My honest prediction.
And the scoreline, by the
So
way.
we have beaten PSG before.
Right.
So Tottenham Hotspur are very capable of pulling this off. As Jesse points out, you don't know which Spurs team is going to pitch up on the day. And if we put our best foot forward on the day, I'm calling this 2-0 Spurs, by the way.
2-0 Spurs.
Yes.
Write that down. 2-0 Spurs.
Write this
Even
down.
That's
Seth
bold.
is already wiping
That's
his head.
very bold.
Screenshot this, and at the Europa League final, we changed our tactic. We went defensive. We scored one, and we parked the bus. We got Man United off guard. So I think a few tweaks in our tactics, we can pull this off.
Because I think this was actually the first game that Ange actually learned go according to what the game situation is. Don't just go with your game one strategy.
Also, if you look at the format of Champions League this year, 36 teams or 24 teams, PSG finished 18th in the round robin phases. Liverpool won all 8, and they got in the knockouts, they got knocked out. And PSG looked very unlikely. And actually progressed and won the tournament. So PSG are vulnerable. So they're kind of peaking at the right time. So it all depends on how much of importance they would attach to this as a Club World Cup. But Luis Enrique, you've got to hand it to him. He's done wonders with the club as well. He's done very well with a young developing squad. I actually called Inter Milan for a win last week.
We both did actually.
We both did.
We both called Inter Milan.
Somehow the big match temperament we're missing. And to get a 5-0 hammering
that was
in the final,
that was shocking.
Absolutely shocking.
But
2-0 Spurs.
But like you said,
So we got a 2-0 Spurs.
like you were saying, we both seem to be losing our thought. I'll come back to it just now.
No, but okay, so we've got a 3-0 PSG, we've got a 2-0 Spurs. So we're actually going to lock this in. We're going to get set to lock it in.
What's your prediction?
My prediction, I say it's going to be PSG hands down. I don't see Spurs in that game as Inter were not in the game. So the way Inter got brushed aside, I see Spurs. Unfortunately, I don't. It's not for bantering anything.
Yeah.
But I think over the course of the season, Spurs went through the league and finished 17th. They went through the Europa. They played mediocre sides. In the final, they played a United who was absolutely hopeless.
No, but I think like I was, or what I wanted to point out, like you say, and change. He didn't change his style in the last game against United. In fact, I think I remember us discussing it against, Frankfurt? And we went away to play, and he changed his style. And even I mentioned about Bissouma. When you saw Bissouma with the ball, he didn't hold the ball and turn and dribble. He got rid of the ball as quickly as possible. So I think he started towards the end changing that. But also, I read somewhere quite a few sites. In January, he knew it was going to be a problem with the injuries that he had. And he mentioned that he changed his strategy to rather focus on Europe because that was one of the cups we could win. So, I hear everybody talking about the league form, and yes, it is disappointing, but then in the same breath, if you look at it, he saved a lot of our first team players for the Europa games. As well as if you look at the final, we had no creative players. Madison was out, Kulusevski was out. So I think that's one of the strategies also that made him change his strategy to play. And I think that also could have caught United off guard because they didn't know what system or what style we were going to play. Because had we had Madison or Kulusevski, we probably would have gone on a little bit of an attack mode.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you now, was it a manager's tactical tweak or was it forced on the manager to do the change? From what you're saying, he didn't have the play, so he had to.
I think he's learned his lessons. Like I say, from the Frankfurt game, In fact, a couple of games, you could see, hey, hang on, now he's starting to change his style. The Basuma thing for me was clear because previously, when we were watching the games and the guys, oh, Basuma, he's going to cause a goal because he's caused a lot of goals. But from that game I saw, where he went in, there was none of this dilly-dallying with the ball in the midfield. He got the ball, got rid of it as quickly as possible, and I think that showed in the final as well. So I think the manager had a say in it. Again, probably from past experiences in the season.
Now we're talking about managers. So there's been a big story that's been floating around here, there, and everywhere about Ange. Do you think he's going to stay, or do you think he's getting the sack?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I think the longer Levy leaves it, sort of points that, he's going to keep him. Because, my thinking initially, I was Ange all in. And then when we went on the dip, I said, hey, hang on, now I need to relook, And then I had a relook at it and I said, no, man, you can see he's starting to change. And then, of course, players not being available. But I think the main thing for me is now going and starting all over again. I'm also on a couple of groups and you read the comments from guys as well. And some of the guys that were also very strongly Ange out are now starting to change because where do we go back and start? At least, it's like better the devil you know. We know Ange, we know his style, and he knows the players. Now you get a new manager. Yes, he could have achieved wherever, but you've now got to get players that play to his style. What in case he performs in the first 10 games like the previous managers and then things go down? Then we sort of go backwards again. I think let's just give him that chance because I read somewhere as well that Levy wanted to get rid of Ange in Jan and apparently the players revolted. So I think you read, the players are not behind him. I think the players were behind him.
So actually in January, we were speaking to Inzaghi. I think Inzaghi is going to have So I've always been Ange, as you know.
Yeah.
Even irrespective of the outcome of the Europa League. So it seems as if there may be some change in terms of the management structure. There's talks of some takeover as well. So there's even the possibility of our chairman, Daniel Leva, leaving the club. So everything's a bit up in the air as well. And a lot of media speculation about Ange. A lot of it is untrue. It's speculation. But I still think it's very much in the balance, 50-50. I think we've spoken a lot about Tottenham.
I do have one last question. Last week, you and I were talking about the interview that I did with you, and it was between Ange and Arne Slot.
Yes.
Who would you have rather chosen, Ange or Arne Slot? Considering Slot went to Liverpool and won the league in his first season.
Yeah,
that's a no-brainer.
No. For me, I wouldn't say no-brainer. For me, if you took Ange and you put him in Liverpool with those same players, I'm sure Ange would have won it as well. It's not about the manager alone. It's about the players. You can have the best manager, but if your players are not performing, or if your players are not performing, you're not going to perform. Or suddenly you can have the worst manager and your players start gelling. Look at Forest this year. They did exceptionally well. So for me, I wouldn't really say the manager. I think a lot of credit should actually be given to Klopp because he laid the foundations for that side. If you go back to even the United era, Ferguson had everything running, and the first couple of years after he left, they were still up there, but then the wheels started falling off. And you had some excellent managers. Look at Spurs. You had Jose coming. You had Conte coming in.
All Chelsea managers.
So,
by the way.
yeah. So for me, I actually give Ange more credit than Slot because Slot had top players at his disposal.
I think we've spoken a lot about football in Tottenham. By the way,
Mostly Tottenham.
Mzansi actually has ventured into the Champions League space as well. There was a fantasy league, and so that's actually a different tier as well. So in terms of, we had an IPL final yesterday. It was Punjab Kings against the Royal Challengers Bangalore, and Mzansi's venturing into F1 space as well. Have you got any particular allegiance when it comes to Formula One and IPL?
So Formula One, not really. I know a lot of good mates of mine that actually follow F1, and actually this past weekend was the first time I actually sat down and it was on the TV, so I was watching it. But no, not really a fan of F1, but it's always very exciting, I'm sure, for a lot of people. And IPL, I've been a Punjab Kings 11 Punjab, I can say, fan from from 2008 when the IPL started.
Got something in common.
Yeah, so it's
So
it was
you
a sad
also
final.
Punjab. Okay.
There again we clash. Mumbai Indians.
Yeah, no, so yeah, been a Punjab fan for a long time. It was a sad final yesterday, but yeah, headed to Bangalore.
Punjab haven't really been performing in the latter years in terms of winning
Yeah.
the title.
Yeah.
They've always fallen short. Now, I think before we got on air, I did tell you guys there's two teams. I don't know why, but I have a natural dislike for
Yeah.
them. Chennai Super Kings and Punjab. I have no idea why, but I just dislike those two. I think with Chennai, it was just this. They know they're good, and but they rely on the captain Dhoni. I'm losing my train of thought. Dhoni, they've in recent years, even though he's over the hills already, but they rely on him too much, and without him, the team doesn't really perform. I did like the two new additions that came in a couple years ago, Gujarat Titans and
Lucknow
Super Giants.
Yeah. So I did find their style of play a little more exciting. They won it. Gujarat won it. I think
The
it was
first time
year
they played.
came in,
Yeah.
Lucknow had our ex-captain, South African captain, Quinton.
Yeah.
Quinton played with them. So it was a little, but I think this season I didn't really follow it. I did see. I know a couple of mates of mine as well who follow hardcore into the IPL space.
Right.
And they are RCB supporters.
Yeah.
Through and through.
Oh, they would have loved the season.
But now, did you think you'll had a chance in the final? Coming up against,
of course.
But coming up against an RCB side that's been really performing this season.
I mean, we've also performed. You know, we finished first in at the end of the league phase, and I think we had a terrible qualifier one, but they learned from that and they beat Mumbai Indians the next game, and I did expect a lot more from.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a common thing of my teams beating my dad's team. So yeah,
I think the captaincy of Shreyas Iyer was a bit of fresh air. So the final between RCB and Punjab Kings, both first-time kind of winners. So
there was a lot at stake.
There was a lot at stake. So
so it was the second final that I had watched, and the last final that Punjab was in 2014, and I remember it very clearly because I had a maths exam from my first year of campus the next day, but I still watched IPL for 4 hours the night before.
No, the good thing is he studied late too.
Now we can.
So we gave you.
Now you can get.
By the way, what profession are you?
I'm a civil engineer.
Civil engineer.
Yeah.
All the studying paid off at the end of the day.
It did kind of.
But you know, we're gonna come a little bit into the transfer market. Season's over. Players are going on holiday. Let's start off with Liverpool. Who do you think needs to come into this team right now?
I mean, it doesn't matter what I think, you know, but I think there's been a lot of talk, and you know, I'm sure everyone would have heard of the Here We Goes and There We Lands. So I think the three players that I think is more likely to join Liverpool this season than not is Florian Wirtz, Kirkesh, and it was the other guy, Frimpong, who's joined already.
I know more about his team.
I'm thinking of all the other players that we could get, but those are the three. And I did read somewhere that all these players that we're buying doesn't affect the budget for a new striker.
Okay,
And,
so
yeah.
just to put you in the picture, Frimpong is already transferred.
Yeah, so I did
So
see the
he's already
pictures.
in
I've
the-
watched a few of the interviews, but I was away this weekend on holiday, so I didn't get a chance to see it fully. But yeah, I think for me, I'd like to get a striker in. I really admire Alexander Isak. I think he's a really great player.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a secret on that one. So
Right.
I wanted Newcastle to miss out on the Champions League because I wanted us to go for Isak as well.
Well, I
So-
mean, you got Liam Delap, so it's okay.
You're
It's good.
looking at
Bit of-
levels,
bit
you
of a
know.
downgrade.
I look at levels, you know.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Keyuran as well, I believe that your number 2 keeper, Keller, has gone to Brentford.
Yeah.
I think Keller is a fantastic keeper.
For FPL or in real
No,
life?
no,
Oh,
as,
okay.
as a goalkeeper. So in terms of your goalkeeper stocks, what's your...
Yeah, I think we got Mamadashvili coming in, so him and Allison are going to fight it out for that number 1 spot. I did read a while ago that Mamadashvili is not happy to be a number 2, but I recently read that he's willing to fight. So maybe the load will be split between the two, but see how it goes.
I mean, you've got the Premier League, you've got your Champions League, so they need that balance
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And the loss of Trent Alexander-Arnold.
That's a very interesting topic because I share a differing opinion to a lot
Okay.
of my mates and a lot of Liverpool supporters. So I never had any hard feelings towards him. Obviously, we're upset because he's a massive component of our team and for years, obviously. But I think you have to respect that he's also a human being. And as much as he's ran his contract down and he's gone for no money, just I think Jurgen Klopp said it. He said, look, you know, he's a Liverpool man. He's done everything he could for the club, and the contract things and the money stories, that's not for us fans really to worry about. It's we don't own the club.
Look,
I-
he's given everything to the team. He's won
Yeah.
everything with Liverpool
He
as
has.
well. So I
Yeah.
think a new challenge is up right now.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think you get any player nowadays like back in the day who will start a career at a club and end at the same club.
Yeah.
Because I mean, then you're not challenging yourself.
No, I mean, look, there are challenges within staying in the same club. I mean, I read recently, I don't know if you guys have known Domenico Berardi. He's an Italian footballer with Sassuolo, and he got relegated with them, came back up to Serie A, and he's just been with them for years and years. So you can stay with one club and still face your own challenges, but I hear what you
I
say.
think that the same with Jamie Vardy. He got relegated with Leicester.
Exactly.
He came back up with Leicester. Got
Exactly
relegated
that.
again with them.
So all in all, no hard feelings towards Trent. I'm gonna miss him, but I definitely hope that we smash him when if we do verse him.
But replacing him now. Replacing him.
Yeah, Jeremy Frimpong, Connor Bradley as well. I mean, someone I had in my FPL team.
Can they really fill this?
The answer to that is we'll see, right? Because
Yeah.
Jeremy Frimpong has been phenomenal for Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, he was part of the team that went an entire season unbeaten. That's not easy. I mean, the German league is a tough league to play in. You got very good teams and very good players there. So I think we'll have to see how it goes. But there are traits that Trent has that I don't think anyone
You know,
possesses.
talking
So,
about
yeah.
that one cross that defied physics, you actually see it, and somehow
Yeah.
the trajectory of the ball was
Yeah.
just impossible. But
It's phenomenal.
But he pulled it off.
Yeah.
Besides Trent, this talks about Luis Diaz leaving,
Yeah.
and Salah and VPD. How many seasons do you see in them?
So Luis Diaz, I think that one, I hope it doesn't work out in terms of going to Barcelona, because that's, I think, where the links are coming from. But I'd like for him to stay. I think he's still got a little bit left in the tank and a few more trophies to win. Virgil and Mo, I didn't think they would leave for the longest time. I didn't concern myself too much with the rumors and all of those things until they came out and actually signed the contract. I do see them being around, I think Mo maybe for about 2 seasons and then Virgil for maybe 3. But happy that they're sticking around because I'd love to make a trip up there one day.
I mean, Age as well
so,
is
yeah.
also against Salah. But
exactly.
It's coming to that point
Yeah.
where they're going to have to eventually leave.
Exactly.
All right. I want to ask you a question about Man United.
Okay.
On the banter group,
Right.
there's lots of speculation and chat about Mbeumo,
Yep.
Cunha,
Yeah.
and also Mateta.
Yeah.
So with Man United not having Champions League and still having the power to attract top class players,
Yeah.
what's your views on that? And,
I think Man United are a big club, as much as they've had, poor seasons in the past almost 10 years. I don't know how long.
I think it's going on about 12 years now since
Yeah.
Ferguson left.
Yeah, more or less. So they still have, from what I can understand, I mean, they have a lot of money in the club. There's a lot of good facilities on offer and those kinds of things.
But
And
actually, Ronaldo had something different to say about it.
is it?
Yeah, when he returned, he actually said that the facilities were not upgraded since he
Yeah.
left.
But
So
I
it was
think,
so outdated at that point when he
Yeah.
returned, and this is a few years ago, and still
Yeah.
hasn't been upgraded since.
but I think
Wow.
also, it's the history of the club. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
That's the number one.
That's-
if
a good
if you say, as you play now, you come to United, yeah, whether you win or not, but if you go back and you say, hey, I played for Man United, people tend to look up,
Right.
even if it's for the other clubs as well, the top clubs. So I guess it's the history that plays a big part in it. Because I mean, let's face it, like you say, no Champions League, no Europa League, and you're getting top players that are wanting to go. There must be something that's attracting
Yeah,
them.
maybe about £300,000 a week. Something like that.
But
I
I
think
think
you're getting it right.
I think with Mbeumo, Onana has been candidacy because they're both from Cameroon. So I think there's
Ah.
a
Cameroonian,
link
yeah.
in there.
At the end of the day, I do feel that it's a step in the wrong direction. If I were to not sit on the fence, I just feel that I mean, I think Wolves might have finished above Man United.
Just below. So it was.
Is it just
Spurs
below?
17, Wolves 16, United 15. There was a goal difference.
I
between
thought
them.
Okay.
off the topic now.
Right, sorry, but I mean, there was Brentford had a good season. They almost got European football, so I would think that Ryan Mbeumo should have looked for a team that's playing Champions League football.
Or at least Europa League.
Yeah, something like that.
He's
It's a
somewhere
step
around
in the
there.
right direction.
Yes.
So from a neutral as well, when it comes to Onana,
Yeah.
I think the goalkeeper position is a position they should be looking at.
Yeah, I think
Because
that's
he's
a
been
big
a bit
one.
of an Achilles heel.
I know the feeling of a goalkeeper being your Achilles heel in the team.
Robert Sanchez.
Robert Sanchez has been a culprit in our team as of
Yeah.
late. And I think we're looking at AC Milan's keeper,
Mike
was
Maignan.
started.
Yes, I saw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's the link that's come. 25 million for a 29-year-old who's in his prime. That's
Yeah,
not a
and he's
bad
a
thing.
French international.
Now he's the number one keeper for France right now. That's the links United should be looking at in terms
Yeah.
of players, because if you want to make that step up, you can't be by playing players from teams that surround you 17, 18, 16,
Yeah.
14.
I have to say that crossed my mind as well. Why aren't Man United going for Mike Maignan?
That's the thing.
But
You're
I-
looking at a keeper.
I have to just add something about Mike Maignan. I think he was groomed by somebody that came from Spurs. Hugo
Oh,
Lloris.
Hugo Lloris. It all comes back to Spurs, doesn't it?
Always going back to Spurs. Always. Well, to end on United, well, Kuna is already confirmed in. The others are. It's just a matter of time before they medical's done and they are back in the team. Nothing for City at the moment. Kevin De Bruyne is gone. Jacob Wright is gone. Transfer.
That guy from Lyon,
Ryan
Ryan Cherky, yeah.
it's quite advanced.
Yeah.
But I think also, what's his name? Reinders from AC Milan.
And apparently Ait Nouri. That's someone that Man City have been looking at quite heavily. Yeah.
There was a thing
Not
on
a bad
Banter
option
Group,
there.
something about efficient signings. We're trying to get the Chauvian. Efficient signings. We needed to find the definition of that. What's an efficient signing? And somebody used Ait Nouri as a prime example. And somebody said Maguire from Leicester to Man United is an example of an efficient signing.
The fridge. He was known as the fridge. He just stood there. Did nothing for many years.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, looking at Liverpool, the signings transferred in, you got Georgie. Excuse my pronunciation on this one. Mamadashvili.
Mamadashvili, yeah.
Mamadashvili, that's the one he's in. And Frimpong is in. But the problem with Frimpong that I have right now is that Germans generally don't make it in the Premier League. German players, if you look across.
But he's obviously playing in the German league, but he's Dutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But players coming from the German league to the Premier League generally don't make it. They always. I mean, the latest example was Werner. He tried it at Chelsea and he tried at Arsenal as well.
Yeah.
Spurs, sorry.
Yeah.
Arsenal and Spurs.
That's a bit of an insult.
And there you go. So I got corrected on that one. So
Yeah.
and gone. Never made.
I don't know. I think it depends on the team you go to as well. Because I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at it, I'm thinking you're saying coming from the German league. You look at Berbatov.
But
You look at Son.
Son came
You
from.
look at I think Christian Z. I think it was Christian Z. Well, he was at Liverpool and then came to Spurs. So I think there's quite a few players. It depends.
but now if you're looking
Kingsman.
if you're looking in the recent years, I think the only one currently, but Son's been there for a long time.
Yeah, it's been almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at it, if you're looking at big names making big impact, I think the last biggest player besides Son who's currently there would have been Berbatov.
I think
which
Emre
was-
Can I think was fairly.
Emre Can was.
I rated Emre Can, to be honest.
I called him a mediocre.
Yeah.
He wasn't really that impact that you require for the Liverpool player.
KDB came from the Bundesliga. He didn't make it.
Mhm.
And then I think he went back.
But he
and
was.
then he came back a different player.
Yeah.
So
he was in the Premier League. He went out. He came back in.
Kai Havertz, isn't he German?
Kai Havertz.
yeah, he came from Bayer
He's
Leverkusen.
also.
But he went to Chelsea, right?
He was at
Didn't
Chelsea.
work
at
out
Arsenal.
really.
But you see,
So-
even with him too, he's another Giroud. You can't rely on him to win you titles.
On Giroud,
Giroud was never Giroud. I rate Giroud.
right?
I really like Giroud, but 90% of the opinion is Giroud. That's why he was never the number one striker, even for his national side too. He was always second choice.
I hear you, and you're not wrong there. But I mean, Giroud was another.
Giroud was
player.
class. I loved
Yeah.
that man.
I think
up
he's
front
French
in
top
the-
scorer actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he was in the right place at the right time. He
Oh,
got
you
you
see,
goals.
You see, he was very a very intelligent footballer.
I think he got a World Cup goal as well, right? In the final.
He
So
did.
a bit of an annoying personality.
I never found him annoying. I never found him annoying.
But he always,
No,
as
yeah,
Desi
you-
points out, got himself in the right place
Yeah.
at the right time.
Yeah, he always
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
But he was never considered that elite level striker.
Yeah.
Like we are looking at an elite level striker right now, but the wages is a problem. Osimhen, Victor
Mm.
Osimhen scored about 35 goals and 4 assists this season, but now you're talking about Galatasaray in
Mm.
the Turkish league. So that's chalk and cheese compared to
It's still a good return. I
Yeah,
mean, you still have to
Manchester
score all
is a
those goals.
fantastic team, eh?
Galatasaray the team, but the
Yeah.
league as a whole.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
That,
The
that's a
competition,
different,
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a different ballgame.
Because in terms of Europe, playing away at Galatasaray is one
Yeah.
of the biggest battles.
That's
you know?
the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of us, we've got Dario Esugo who came in, Esteban William, all youngsters. We're going a very different route. I think United tried this at once.
Do I need to Google them?
they youngsters, they're coming 19, 20-year-olds,
Yeah.
prodigies for the future. That's what
Yeah.
Chelsea. They cut the wage structure down. They brought in all the prodigies. And they gave them 8-year contracts.
Yeah.
So by the time the team gels, you see, Arsenal tried this in the early 2000s under Wenger. They bring in all the youngsters and let them gel together and
Build
become-
something.
Yeah.
Are we talking Chelsea?
No. I'm talking about the strategy.
Yeah.
Arsenal tried it as well in the early time, but what Arsenal failed to do was the longevity of the contracts, which means as soon as the guys were becoming of prime, in terms of their football, teams were snapping them up.
Mm.
They never got to see any of their big stars make it at Arsenal, or were already moving out. Barcelona, Madrid.
Yeah, I guess because I was also going to say a very similar thing. I think we are also going in the youth direction, but I think you make a point with the 8-year contract. Initially, I was going to say, hey, you know what, that's too long. But maybe you have a point, where you're trying to keep them at the club, but
Gel,
not
the core
all
of
of
the
them
team.
wake up. Yeah.
Yes. So when the team actually they get used to playing with each other, and then that's when the Pep Guardiola style of football comes in, where you don't have to look where your
Yeah, they get
teammates
used to each
You
other.
get used to each
Shabazz,
other.
I know we spoke about United already,
Mhm.
but I've got to mention this. There's 3 players.
You're going to speak about Arsenal.
Marcus Rashford,
We're
Jadon
gonna get
Sancho,
into
and Anthony.
Mhm.
Right, all loaned out
Right.
currently. There could have been a need for them for Man United in the current season. Where do you see Man United going in terms of their future? Salary is a major factor for Sancho and Rashford.
Rashford.
I think in excess of 300k per week.
That's the stumbling block for us actually signing him, because we want to sign Sancho. That's the one thing we do want to sign Sancho, but the stumbling block is
I think it was the salary. Yeah,
it's
also
the salary, because we're not looking at paying 300,000 a week. We'll tell you straight now. You either cut your wage in half, or you can't go back to your team. They'll pay the 5 million to send him back if he doesn't want to cut his wage enough, because that they don't want to do. I think, but with United now, my personal point of view, I think all three are going to go.
No, I think they will go. I
All
think
three are gonna
like
go.
because they can't afford to pay those people. Because I was thinking, you're bringing in Mbermo, Cunha. These players are coming back all on over 300,000. What do? They're going to have to. The challenge they have is who's going to buy those players because their salary demands are very high.
But I think if they drop the salary demands, then it'll be,
Probably, yeah.
they'll go, because I think with Rashford, Aston Villa won't mind keeping him.
I think they kind of on the fence with Rashford.
I had Barcelona, I might be in for him.
But the problem with Barcelona is the financial situation that they're in. And that's the same thing you're talking about Luis Diaz.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, but
There's some hope there.
conversation went on. I think you'll have a good chance of keeping him because the financial situation is
But
dire state.
something I have to say, I don't know if there was something about United, because United was in the Europa League, they lost. They had a player in the Conference League and they lost as well. So
But they also
I don't know.
No, but also one of the players won.
Yeah.
Sancho won, Anthony lost. I think Anthony as well. That's another one that will definitely be shipped out. Anthony, he's definitely going because he performed throughout the entire Conference League, but he came to the final against another Premier League side. He was not.
Just shows the level, the quality.
Cannot
that
step up to.
I think
That's the problem.
United's mistake was the salaries were too high for the players. And
But I don't understand the thinking behind this whole thing of United. Why are you putting players in such high wages when the team itself, and especially at this point in time, have no Europe? Okay, last season they had a little bit of they had UEFA Champions League, Europa League. They got into whatever the case is. But this season there's no Europe for them. You can't be signing players on £300,000 a week. You have to drop the wage structure, and now everyone has to take a pay cut whether they like it or not.
And I think that's one of the things in the Premier League where, these sort of elite clubs, your United, Liverpool's, Cities, Chelsea, where there's an abundance of money, they were, players, even if they knew they're not going to get first team game time, they went purely because, hey, I'm getting extra money instead of playing first. So I think that was one of the things that also crippled a lot of players where they were going on high wages and then being put on the bench.
I think we had a lot of football chat. I see Keyuran's eyeing his trophy.
We need to get to that presentation.
So, Shabazz, have you got any more FPL
questions? I think I'm
specifically?
done. I've
Oh,
got
okay,
through
yeah.
everything that I needed to say for today.
Keyuran, this one parting question for you. What was the highlight for you in terms of your FPL season?
I mean, well, the first highlight is obviously finishing first in South Africa, but I think in terms of a highlight, there were so many, but the one big one for me was bringing in Phil Foden after Saka got injured in December. So there were a number of options. You could bring in Foden or Palmer or De Bruyne or all these other guys, but I went Foden because he had just scored the previous game against Aston Villa. He hadn't been in good form at all. But when I got him in, I think he scored about 4 or 5 goals throughout December. And it was a good move on my end. But yeah, I think that was maybe the second highlight. I'm thinking about it now. I think the highlight of my season was Oliver Glasner, 2 game weeks in a row, winning against Fulham and then Aston Villa. Both placed 5 positions higher than Palace in the table. So they got table bonus points. So I got 20 points in game week 26, 20 points game week 27. And so that definitely I think would be the highlight.
Okay, I think we've got through everything. We've just got one last piece of business to get through for today, which is, I do see the name on the trophy. Yes, it is etched in history, by the way. You'll get to let it just So,
Alright, so we need to present.
we do have to present the trophy.
Keyuran? You're a mess of it.
So I think there is 2 trophies here. If you take one, I take one.
You can. Oh, yeah. You can present one,
And we'll
Shabazz can present one, and I'll do the big one.
He wants to do the big show.
By the way, I am the MVP of the Mzansi Group. Of
course.
So,
Yeah.
So I think let's.
I think we're gonna vote him out this year.
All right. So firstly, Keyuran, well done on winning the Mzansi Global League,
Thank you.
and we'll give your dad the honor of actually.
I think he wants to keep it. He doesn't
He wants to keep it. Right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well done, son.
Then we get some photos as well.
Congratulations. Yeah. I hope we can see many more in the next season.
Thanks.
Right. So the Mzansi High Roller, one of the elite leagues. So Shabazz, you can do this.
Oh, I think. Well done. You need to hold that, not me.
You can see our trophies light up as well, eh?
Thank you. Yes.
All right, and now the big one.
Now the big one from the MVP himself.
MVP.
Is it heavy?
Yeah. All right, so Keyuran, this is the floating trophy. Your name is embossed in it, so you're permanently associated to the Mzansi Group. Congratulations and well done. All right, so thank you. We've come to the end of our show. Shabazz, thank you once again.
Thank you
It's been a
very much.
pleasure chatting.
It was an
And,
absolute pleasure.
sorry, this is your trophy. Right, I'm keeping it. And Desi, it was fun having you as well.
Awesome show.
Thank you so
Okay,
much
thank you very
for
much.
Shiva.
being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having
All
me,
right,
everyone.
so-
It was a pleasure.
Right, once again, Seth and your management team, well done on keeping this group, growing it, and making it one of the leading fantasy groups in the world. Thank you very
Well
much.
done.